30-30 versus 44 Magnum. What's the best lever action caliber to get? Coming up in this episode, Hunt Shoot Off-Road. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Hunt Shoot Off-Road, and today we're going to talk about what's the best cartridge to get in the Marlin lever action. Is it a 44 Magnum or 30-30? And hopefully I can give you enough information that will help you make that decision, and you can choose the right firearm. So this is my dad's one. He's had this for like 30 plus years. This is my 44 Magnum, and I've had this was the second firearm I ever purchased, and I've had this for probably like over 20 years now, and I've shot a lot of pigs with that. And my dad shot a lot of pigs with this. I mean, this was his primary pig gun, and I bought this. I think I've talked about it in the past. I had a Browning pump action rifle, and it just did not have the magazine capacity that I required, so I bought this. My uncle had a 44 Magnum. I think his was actually a Marlin or a Aussie, and I saw some of the pictures of the damage it did, and ever since I was probably like 10 years old, this was the firearm that I had to have. So, look, I mean, these are fantastic bush guns. They are, I don't think there really is a better firearm to choose from. I mean, we'll just clear both of these. They're all clear, because some of you guys are a bit funny about that. And look, they are what they are, and look, we'll just go over. This is actually a 365. Sorry. What? I don't even know I said that. This is a 336, and this one here is a 1894. I'll do a video on the differences between those, but yeah, that's it. Look, what I will say, this is a 30-30. Now, this is considered the gun that's better for longer range. Now, when I say longer range, this is only really good for 150 meters. The 44 Magnum is only really good for 100 meters. Once you start shooting past those distances with both these firearms, they really start to drop off. And if you're going to be shooting further than that, these guns are not really so suitable for ethical kills. So, you know, that's why they're good scrub guns. Most of the shooting that we're doing with these types of firearms is probably nearly like maximum 30 meters. Sometimes you might catch them on the edge of a paddock and they run out into the paddock, and then you might have a couple of shots that are closer to the 100 or 150 meters. But I can't say I've ever really missed a pig because this couldn't go the distance that I wanted it to. The most of the times I used this, it was all close range. It was all in lignum, on riverbanks, shooting pigs in the water when they're swimming across the river, trying to get away. And yeah, so it's all close range. So on mine, I did have this. I should have prepared this earlier. It's covered in a sock. I had a red dot on mine, and the only reason I had a red dot was because it's just a cheap one. It cost me like $100. It's completely deteriorated. I think it was a Fox, something. It's all rubberized coatings come off it. Look, this was really cheap. It cost like $100. Now, I had that on there because the gun came with a 3 to 9 times scope on it, and the first time I used it, I knew instantly that it was just way too much magnification for the close range shooting that we were doing, and so I wanted to get rid of that. So I sold that to my dad, and bought the red dot, and fantastic. You know, you can smash a Coke can at 100 meters with the red dot, no problems. And I was happy with that because I wasn't after super accurate shooting. I was only shooting, you know, anywhere between 5 to 30 meters, and this red dot, super quick acquisition. It never failed on me. What I will say I don't like about the red dots is the fact that you do have to have a battery, and I've had the battery go flat on me so many times, and these button batteries are just so expensive to replace, and not what I would seriously recommend. My dad's, on the other hand, he has a 1.5 to 6 times, and 1.5 to 4.5. This is quite an old scope actually. I couldn't find the brand on it the other day when I had a quick look, but he pretty much only uses it on 1.5. So it really just shows you that these types of firearms, in the sort of distances we're using them, you don't need huge magnification on them. You know, this is probably really considered a really good deer gun. I've never shot deer myself. One of Dad's mates he shot 60 deer in 3 days in Queensland, in Stanthorpe, just out there culling them, and all with a 30-30 with a scope on it. So, you know, it's really good for that application. And look, what I will say, the biggest difference between these two guns is, now both of them have the same length barrel. They're both, I measured it before, it seemed like 19.5, but I think they call it a 20-inch barrel. This 30-30 is just so much heavier than this 44 Magnum. And that all comes down to, I probably won't be able to get it to focus on it, but the size of the hole in the muzzle there. You know, this has only got like, maybe 3 millimeters of material, and this one's got like probably 4, nearly 5 millimeters of material. And so, of course, because that's all hollowed out, same with the magazine tube, obviously, this thing is just incredibly heavier than this. And even if you put your 6 rounds in here, and this is probably my biggest point, is this one can only hold 6 rounds, and this one can hold 10. But it can't hold 10, it can hold 11. Plus 1 up the spout. So you can get 12 in there, you can get 7 in there. And I think, for me, that was my real factor for choosing the 44 Magnum over the 30-30. Geez, this thing is getting heavy. Is really because of the magazine capacity. I wanted to be able to put more lead down range. And I can tell you now, I've been hunting pigs, and I've had to reload this gun like 3 times. Oh, sorry, reload it twice. So go through nearly 30 rounds, or maybe 33 rounds. You don't always reload it to the top. Don't top it off necessarily. And so you can use all those rounds when you're hunting pigs. All these people that say you only need 1 round, they've obviously never hunted pigs. And yeah, so the thing is, it's just like the magazine capacity is really the big beneficial thing with the 44 Magnum over the 30-30. Now, at 100 meters, these guns are about the same. So when I say they're about the same, I've got to put this down. If you look at the like a 240 grain versus, I think it's 150 grain. I'd have to look at the stats again, but the feet per second that you can get out of the 30-30 is obviously much faster compared to the 44 Magnum. But when you do a 240 grain versus 150 grain, I think they work out about equal. So they're kind of at the 100 meter mark, and within that, obviously, they're fairly equal in their stopping power. So there's no real advantage to having a 30-30 over the 44 Magnum unless you want that little bit of extra legs on the gun. But personally, I chose obviously magazine capacity over the extra legs, and not once has that hindered my shooting experience for the type of hunting that I'm doing. The other thing really that comes down to the difference between these two firearms is the cost of the rounds. So a quick look on the local gun shop. You can get a pack of 20 30-30s for around $35 mark, and you can get a pack of 50 44 Magnums for around the $55 mark. Now you obviously get some cheaper and you get some a lot more expensive, but that works out to approximately $30 more expensive per 50 versus the 44 Magnum. So you can see that there is some, these are quite expensive. But I remember when I first got my 44 Magnum, I bought 50 Magtecs, and I don't know if it was an introductory price or whatever, but I bought 50 Magtecs for, I think it was $26. You know, that was really cheap. These were still around, I think the 30-30s were around the $30 mark. So the cost is quite significant. Now the other thing too with the 44 Magnum, if you're into reloading, the 44 Magnum, you can run these through quite easily through progressive press, because they just use the pistol dies, and you can get the carbide dies and all that sort of stuff like that. So there is some time saving there if you're going to be doing a lot of shooting. That if you want to do some reloading, the 44 Magnum obviously makes it a lot easier to reload and punch those rounds out if you're going to be shooting a lot of numbers. So look, that's probably the majority of it. So like I said, we've got the 30-30. It's extremely heavy compared to the 44 Magnum. Man, I couldn't even tell you. It feels like nearly a kilo, but it's probably an exaggeration. You know, okay, this is a like I said before, 1894. This is a 336. You can't get either of these guns in the other style. That's just what they come in. So 6-shot magazine, 50 meters longer in the legs, 10-shot magazine, and I think most of them will fit 11 unless you get a Winchester or something like that. And you know, only good for probably up to about 100 meters. But you know, the thing I like about the 44 Magnum, now the same can't really be said for the 30-30. You can shoot a pig anywhere with this and you will knock it down. You can shoot it in the foot and it will just die. It's just, the stopping power of this is just incredible. Just by the brute force of the diameter of the projectile just does so much damage compared to the 30-30. And one of the things that I've really found with the 44 Magnum is if you're shooting through thick lignum, it just does not seem to stop the bullet. If you shoot through thick lignum with this, there's a high chance that you're not going to get the pig. And I've seen it many times. I mean, this will pretty much mow down a small tree and still go ahead and kill the pig for you. So that's something else to consider, is if you are in extremely thick country, this is going to be less affected by the shrubbery and all that around you. My dad shot a 44 Magnum once, and he shot it through some cane grass, and you could literally see where it spun this hole through the cane grass and blasted the pig out the other side. And yeah, so look, my choice would be the 44 Magnum every day of the week. I mean, you can't go wrong. The 30-30, it is probably the #1 hunting rifle in probably nearly the world, at least in Australia. And obviously there's reasons for it. And if that's not enough to convert you, if you don't think that that's helped you make a decision, then you're probably looking at the wrong firearm. And probably what you really need is a 45-70 in the 1895. And I mean, this one here, this is a Cowboy, 9 shots up the tube, plus 1 in the magazine, so it's 10. And the stopping power of that is just huge. Now, probably just even confuse you more because you probably hadn't even considered that, but those things are around $3.20 a bullet. So if you can't afford the 30-30 or the 44 Magnum, it's not even a consideration. Well, guys, just a quick little review. I know I didn't have any technical data in there and all that sort of stuff like that, but when it comes to hunting, I think the technical data isn't really an issue. It's more about the practicality of the things that we're using. Look, you know, these firearms really are perfectly fine to use open sights. The distances you're shooting, it's just, you know, you shoulder it, and it's just pure life. Like, this is so good. Open sights, no dramas. Red dots, no dramas. Low powered scopes, no dramas. It's just, you can just buy these off the shelf and use them like this. I would be more than satisfied with using this with open sights. The only reason I didn't use this originally with open sights was because it came with the scope and it was missing both of the sights there. Didn't have a front one or a rear one. But when I started doing cowboy shooting, I had to purchase a rear sight, and I actually flogged the front sight off my dad's 30-30. He gave that to me, and I've been shooting that ever since. Haven't seen any pigs since I've converted it over, but that's because I've got other firearms that have fitted that niche that I'm a little bit more happy with. But this has been a fantastic firearm for me, and I would never go back. And they're just so short. They're just so, you know, they're just so portable in the bush. You know, you can. I did have this with a strap, and I end up. You can see I don't even have the rear strap thing there, and I should just take that off. You know, I just carry it around. It's just so light, so small. There's just, you know, you can carry it almost any different way you want. One-handed, typically like this. And the thing I really like about the lever actions is you can load one up the spout and put the hammer forward. And if you come across a sleeping pig, you can easily click that back with minimal noise and then just fire it. So really safe. I really like the action of the exposed hammer, and obviously you can rack that easy as. This one is actually quite slick compared to that 336 of my dad's, but I bought this, was very used when I got it. So look, I'm just dribbling on. That's it, guys. Make sure you smash that knockout bell if you want to get notified of when the next video is coming out, and make sure you give us a like. Hit us up in the comments. Tell me why I'm wrong. Always love hearing why I'm wrong. Maybe I can rectify it in the next video if I have to. And until next time, guys, Have a good one and smash those big boars.